Really quick
Right.
before we dive into the episode, can I do a quick recap of the Untucked?
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely. Please.
Be- I really wanted to discuss this. I rewatched it just before joining here, and John, we get some Bianca vulnerability, which is what I really wish you could see it. So in this, if you guys remember the last episode, it was the glitter ball. It was our final five, and we had at the end when they were getting their critiques, Rue asked, the question, "Who do you think should go home tonight and why?" And pretty much everybody had said Darian. And when they were talked about this in Untucked, Darian was like, "Yeah, like I would have said me too." I kind of believed it. But if you remember that episode, Bianca and Dayla had a little scuffle because Dayla said that Bianca was just sort of sailing through. And they discussed this, and Bianca admitted to overreacting and talking about how, she just takes it really personally when people sort of insinuate that she's not working or that she's not trying when she's trying really hard. So her and Dayla talked about it, and I think they came to an understanding, but of course it was kind of like the joke that Bianca just wouldn't let die. um in Untucked, though, they have these moments where they do like little fun games, or they have family moments, like video messages from their family and that kind of stuff. At one point in the Untucked, they see flashback photos from when they were kids, so the top finalists, but also those who had left earlier, and they were kind of like trying to guess who was who, and they had some funny moments about that. But Bianca got a letter, and that was sort of her moment, because in other episodes of Untucked we've seen like video chats, and it was something I mentioned before, like when Laganja got a video chat from her parents, and she was talking about how she'd waited so long to hear that sort of stuff from her parents. Well, Bianca gets a letter and artwork from her goddaughter Lola, who's about 8 or 9 at the time that this filmed. We see Bianca get very emotional. A lot of the episode of Untucked is talking about Bianca's relationship with her goddaughter, and how they, their sort of relationship with each other, and like what Bianca is like outside of the show. And it was there was a lot of really touching moments, and it's a shame that it's not included in the main episode, because I think it's one of those things that adds another layer to Bianca in particular from that episode that we don't get to see a lot. And I know that was discussed when we were watching the last episode about how we hadn't quite seen that from Bianca, but then we do get to see it in the Untucked.
Interesting. I'm curious about these Untucked because the more that I hear about them, the more I feel like we're actually missing a portion of this show. That it doesn't even feel like it's a different series. It feels like
Same.
we're actually missing important parts of the show itself, that they just kind of cut them out. And I'm curious whether like 'cause- because you always, whenever you describe an Untucked, you always seem to be describing something with character with a queen that has already been removed from the series. I remember that was the case when you talked about the Laganja Untucked episode. It was kind of like, I feel very attacked, and then I was like, but she's gone already. Like she went the same episode. So I'm curious if like the best way to watch those would be after the episode, or like could you watch an Untucked by like playing Drag Race or an episode of Drag Race, stopping before the final challenge, or before the runway walk, watch Untucked, and then come back to watch the final runway walk. Would that make sense?
You
Or
could, but you'd also have to make sure that you pause the Untucked as well, because they do spoil the ending of the episode in Untucked.
mm,
And they do say at the beginning of Untucked, like Rue says at the beginning, like if you're not watching Untucked, you're only getting half of the story. And it is really true. Like there's a lot of storylines and things that get pushed via Untucked that gets completely missed or doesn't make as much sense
How many
if you can't
people would
watch
you
it.
say who watched the original series and are just absolute, like, total hardcore fans of the series and are major Bianca fans? How many of them do you think, like, percentage wise, would you guess watched Untucked as well as the season itself, like, while it was on the air? If you had to guess, more than 50%?
I'd say more than 50. I think when this particular season aired, it was easier to watch Untucked as well. Like they so much has changed that's gone through so many different platforms. And so like I think that's kind of where some of the messiness with Untucked come from as well, because it never aired on the same network. I think the Drag Race has been on 4 or 5 different places. So I think it was easier to watch it before, and so a lot easier to view it when
Well,
it was airing as opposed to
I would
now.
imagine when it first aired, whatever it was airing on VH1, I would imagine, uh, that on VH1, if you were watching it, Drag Race, that Untucked, like, was like the next thing that it would probably be on right after Drag Race in VH1's actual programming schedule,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that's how it did work before.
So I would imagine folks who were really into the episode would probably stick around to watch Untucked afterwards. I kind of need to figure out how to watch Untucked, I guess, is what I'm basically getting at. I need to find out how I would ever be able to get those episodes. Can I buy them?
I
Is there a place
The only
think
is there a
they
place
can
where
be bought.
they sell them?
That's the only option that you have.
No, totally would love to try it. Thank you, Elle, for that. I haven't watched Untucked either, so it was really interesting hearing that. But I love Bianca anyway, so I didn't need to be persuaded with her vulnerability. But yeah, I have to. I can't get access to it either, but I'm gonna try because I'd love to see that. So without further ado, I'm at the 0 mark on my episode, season 6, episode 12. So I'm going to start the Remarkers timer too. So if we would all like to press play together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
I'm still happy that Adore won though.
Oh yeah.
That's still cute.
Ugh. Ugh. I mean, I defended Courtney and Courtney's outfit, but now in the context of that criticism, it's pretty lame.
Not today, Satan.
I was gonna say, I'm sure people have heard that before, and that's where this originated with.
Not today, Satan.
I had no
Not
idea who
today.
it's from.
Yeah, that's what
I
I mean. A lot of people who didn't even know Drag Race at all, like, would quote this
have a
without knowing
shirt
where it
that
came from.
says that.
I say that all the time. I had
Wasn't
no idea it was from.
wasn't that from Saturday Night Live?
Yeah, that's actually Bianca's actually referencing something. That's not Bianca didn't come up.
But she made it go viral and then kind of became attached to it.
Oh yes. Well, they need to because we had one extra, right? Like because of the fact that they saved Dela.
Do you think she had a bump it in her hair? It's very big.
I would look just like Bianca trying to do this.
Oh, this is
I
oh
love
oh
it.
oh this is fun. This is fun. This is what I was looking for. I know, but you weren't that good either, though. Adore Adore basically has this one. Uh, Rue wants some vulnerability.
Yeah, that was a great reaction to that.
Right. Right. All right. I'm kind of liking Bianca a little bit more in this episode.
Oh, really?
Little bit. The door is still my queen right now. By a long shot.
Same.
But I'm coming around.
I love Rouge dress. It's so pretty. That's such a pretty.
Yeah, I was looking at Rue's dress too. It actually kind of reminds me a little bit of Bianca's dress from the last episode.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
All right. I have something to say about these little improv things, these little conversations afterwards. Don't let me forget.
Leave Adore alone. She just doesn't have the money. She's
But
trying.
also just the fact that Courtney Act defines like growth as a person as refinement. Like that's what you value in growing. Like 10 years later, you're more refined. That's important. Um, I just cannot do those interview sequences with with Bianca. They just sound so red. I that.
Oh, that's making me sad.
We're gonna die.
It's like the OK Go video.
And Courtney's like, this isn't my first time. And Adore is selling it.
Adore's got that. That is hilarious. I mean, she fully stole it. But as I said, you can't steal an idea. No, nobody owns it. Oh my god.
That's a weird line.
Rue has way too much fun in these roles.
Mall of America.
I've been there.
Me too.
What did I come back to? What's happening?
Welcome back, Hunter.
Does she not know what a corn dog is?
Now,
Not a clue.
now you're Snoop Dogg.
That's funny.
Good times.
I don't play Scrabble.
Oh my god, I love it.
Courtney's a lot. Oh,
It's
Rue's
Australian
accent.
accent.
Oh my god. I mean, can we just all marvel at how awesome Rue is in this, in all of it? I mean, Rue is freaking brilliant. Oh my god, this is so good.
I love that half her nails are gone.
Amazing.
That was
Brilliant.
great.
Who was that just fell? Who just fell?
I couldn't tell.
Jeez.
I love how Courtney's lecturing Bianca right now when Courtney's literally doing the same thing. Like, she is not nice.
I would agree with Courtney on that. I mean, if Courtney's insinuating that she has that compassion and warmth, then I don't agree. But I agree with that what she said about Bianca.
I love this dress. That's so pretty. And that blue eyeshadow.
Right? I want that exact color.
Also, I just love how the dress totally matches the background behind their judge.
In 1994, I had that same eyeshadow for my 8th grade dance line that I was in, and you can watch it on YouTube to prove it.
I want that color in a nail polish as well.
I love her eyebrows.
And again, I can't help but think of the last episode and Dela's puppet. I have the same dress in different fabrics.
I don't know. I feel like I've seen this before on Bianca.
Yeah.
I think Courtney's look is really full circle because it looks like her entrance look.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't like the hem of this dress. It looks weird.
Yeah, the hem is, I think it should be shorter, but I do love the fringe on it.
It's either Courtney or Darian, and I am going to roll the dice here because I can't really decide for sure, but I'm going to say Courtney is going. Wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I actually didn't like it that much either, so I'm surprised they.
He just gushes over her too much for my taste. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I love how they're setting it up where like they're complimenting everybody, so you're like, who's it gonna be? Either Darian or Courtney.
I do love Darian's hair right now.
My heart.
I know, I just love her so much.
That was such a pageanty response.
It was.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh, it totally was. I was just like, oh god.
makes me nauseous.
Oh, that was That was probably my favorite speech of the four of them. I mean, pretty close to Adore's, but I just loved it. Yep.
I don't like that her opening line was, "Well, I came here as Australia's top queen or whatever." Like,
Any thoughts? Any predictions?
I don't. I mean, I really I know what I want my prediction to be, which is I really want Darian to be saved. But I definitely can predict that Adore and Bianca are not going.
they're all lip syncing?
They're all lip syncing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Oh wow, we're gonna see Bianca. Let's lip sync.
Well, we'll see as much of Bianca as the producers want us to see of Bianca.
Right.
Yeah.
There you go.
Correct.
There's also four of them sharing the same stage. They don't have a whole lot of room.
Darian's arms always look awkward to me.
I agree with that. Like I've always thought that she looks a little bit awkward but couldn't figure it out, but she does weird stuff with her arm.
Yeah, it's like she doesn't know where to hold them when they're not up sometimes. Oh, Courtney, can you please not do that anymore? It doesn't work. Oh, that was a door. Oh,
I want to see just Adore's performance because she was selling it.
Adore was great. Darian is going home.
I really want Courtney to go home though.
Knew it. And you know how I knew it is because she had the least amount of screen time of all of them. And when they did show her, she wasn't bad.
I kind of figured she'd be the one going home because of something Kendra had said. She didn't spoil me on it, but she said something about all of the seasons, so I kind of figured Darian was the one that would go home. But I really want to see Courtney go.
That was awesome. Is that the Wizard of Oz? Wait, what?
The audience picked?
Was the winner chosen by the audience?
No, they just like to get a lot of attention on social media. You'll see a lot of plugs to tweet things or post on Facebook or whatever.
Got it.
Yeah, I feel like if the fans chose, then I already know who would win because they're just the most likable, which is Adore.
Well, and then see, there's another. The fans do get to vote at this point for a miscongeniality. So that's kind of where a fan vote comes into play. But if you were in the top 3, you don't count.
What?
So yeah, that's the weird sort of rules from these earlier seasons. So when we watch the finale, which is in 2 episodes, because the next episode's a recap episode with some like never before seen scenes and other queens from past seasons and such. But the finale episode, you'll see the winner announced and also the miscongeniality.
Oh, okay. Well, that's weird because okay, I'm curious. Although it would be nice if Dela won the miscongeniality because she was completely she had this stolen from her.
Yeah.
Do you think Dela would have made it to the final 3? Like if say like last episode,
Yes.
Darian had gone home, who do you think
Yes.
would have? Yeah, so who do you think would have gone?
Courtney. I think Courtney would have gone. I think Courtney. I think Courtney was very close to Darian going.
See, I'm concerned that if Courtney wins, the world will not be able to support the size of her ego.
There's no way she's winning. I mean, I would be shocked. She has been portrayed as such a cold and self-centered. I mean, I don't know if that's really who she is in real life, but that is who we were presented. That's who the producers crafted for us. She has been, especially the second half of the season, has been presented as kind of the closest thing to a villain, and I cannot imagine that she would win. I mean, I would be shocked. I would be shocked.
Was this before they had an Australian dragon?
Yes. because they just had the first season of the Drag Race Down Under, which just finished airing a few months ago.
Oh, okay. That kind of changes my thoughts on who might.
Who do you think is going to win?
I think Bianca's gonna win because as much as I like Adora, and of course she would be the fan favorite, she is very young, and they keep saying, "Oh, that's a speech a 23-year-old would give." Oh, she acts like I do when I was that age, or she's young and she has so far to go. And I don't feel like they would give it to someone who's going to represent, RuPaul's Drag Race when she could have so many flubs and she has a lot of growing to do. And of course, we've seen Courtney be the villain, and they have access to like all the behind the scenes stuff. So like, I don't feel like they would pick her to be the winner because even her speech there at the end was like we said, very pageanty. So I feel like Bianca would be the safer choice because she is seasoned, she's intelligent, like they said, she knows how to carry herself. So I feel like she would be the safer choice than the other two. I was asking because, you know, in my head, I was like, okay, if Bianca, not Bianca, if um, Courtney does win, that would kind of usher in a reason for them to start the Australian drag race. But if it didn't start until, years later, then that doesn't make sense.
The reason why I think that Bianca's going to win, the reason why I think that Bianca's going to win is kind of spoilery. I think Bianca's going to win because I don't really totally understand why she has such a passionate fandom because I just don't see it comparatively to Adore. And yet she does. I can feel it. I can feel it. I can feel it throughout all of our watch together. And that seems to suggest to me that she wins.
Well, she had a fandom. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, people who know this better than I do, but I believe she had a bit of a following before the show. Is that correct? I mean, a friend of mine told me that. So
Is that true?
That's true. Bianca was one of the probably the most known drag queens in like a lot of the New York circles, and was even hosting a lot of drag race events and drag race like related things for past seasons. So she was kind of already tied to the show and had a lot of fans
So very
built up from before.
basically very similar to if I were to be on a future drag race.
Oh, exactly. Of course. Yes.
You're like John Cabrera, he was a part of the season 6 watch in Remarkist.
That you would be
Exactly.
well
feel it.
known for this. Absolutely.
Very well known.
We've
Um,
got to get you on there. One of the makeover challenges.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm down.
Free advertising for Remarcus, John. We need to capitalize on this.
I'm down. I'm completely down for that. I've had to uh to dress like to I was made up like as a woman for something. I can't remember what, but I mean in all of my years as an actor, and and I would be down
Were
if
you
you can make it
lovely? Do
happen.
you have
Hell, I would.
pictures?
Well, I don't really remember what it was, but I do remember being in heels for something. I can't remember. Um,
Braver than me, I don't even walk in
I'm sure your sister
heels.
dressed you up. Did your sister dress you up?
well, I'm older than my sister, so no.
That
Oh,
means
Um,
nothing.
but you're not.
but
Your
but
age is pretty close, right? You're not that much
we're
older.
pretty close. But no, my sister didn't dress me up. But I mean, in theater school, like you're playing all kinds of characters, um and I mean, if I had like a day to like really like go through my entire 30 years of different things that I did, well, 20 years I guess, because I stopped about a decade ago, but um But does that make sense though? What I'm saying about how like it feel because of how much how much love that I see is going towards Bianca, and while I certainly don't think that she like is, you know, like I certainly recognize her talent. I just am like, how are we not all 100% blown away by Adore? Why are we even suggesting that we don't think she's going to win? And I my guess is that because she isn't.
I want Adore to win, but I agree that she probably won't. I do agree that it will likely be Bianca, more so because we didn't really see her falter much or at all during, like, she almost always got praise from the judges. She was never like having to lip sync for her life.
Her
So I think that,
totally. Her journey on this season was not that interesting. I mean,
yeah.
Adore's journey was so interesting from episode 1 until we're here now. It was just a wild ride and has ended at this place where she's just I just love her and think she's just an enormous talent, and so of course like that's like where my heart is.
I recognize that, but like I would never pick her to win. If I were running the company, I would never pick Adore to win. As heartwarming and endearing as she is, like she's young and she's a wild card, so I wouldn't trust her. I wouldn't say trust it. I just wouldn't. I guess yeah, I wouldn't trust it.
What is there to
It's
trust?
too like
I guess I'm confused. What is there to trust? What is it that getting this title is supposed to give you that you have this mantle, like that you need to be instilled with some sort of trust? Is it like is she going to go out and represent in a way that I
and
guess I'm confused by that part. Like, is there some responsibility that the winner of this will have going forward?
I don't know. I would assume it would be like other, like of course she would have to do all these interviews and talk to people other than saying party all
I
the
see. I see.
time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like possibly, like she would just be representing this season for Drag Race and going around doing
Got it.
all these events and talking and stuff. And I wouldn't trust her to keep it together. She might get emotional and break down or not understand how to have a real interview with people. Like I just wouldn't give that to her. I wouldn't want her representing my brand at this.
Hmm. Okay, I got that. That makes sense.
This is also
I
really
wouldn't have a problem with it, but
interesting. It's really interesting for me to hear everybody's opinions too, especially those who this is their first season of Drag Race, because I feel like that gives you a different view of the show as a whole, because there's 5 seasons before this. So anybody who watched the earlier seasons has kind of an idea of what Rue's looking for in a winner who's already won, like in comparison to like who we have here in our finale. And I think that can influence maybe some thoughts as well.
hmm.
But here there's people who are just going in completely blind to all those things, so it's really interesting to
I
hear.
I would
Fascinated.
I would love to hear Kendra's thoughts on who she thinks gonna win because she's watched all the other seasons, but she hasn't finished this one yet. So it'd
But
be
she
interesting to
knows
get her
because it
take
gets
on it.
spoiled in season 7.
Oh, that's
And she
right.
That's
That's
herself has
right.
interesting.
told
And
me
she
that she
watches All
spoiled
Stars. Yeah,
herself.
that's right. I
Yeah.
Oh,
forgot she already said that she was spoiled on.
Kendra, how could you do that to yourself?
I find that
How
like
could you?
these the top three in this season, well the seasons in my head like they they'd be all the other ones that were crowned personally.
This top 3 is largely considered by most of the fan base to be the strongest top 3 ever of any season that has aired up to now.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Wow.
It is, and like I think like
That
the
that has
the
that has
two
aired up to today, 2021.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's interesting because I don't like. I've kind of lost a lot of excitement for Courtney, and kind of feel like if Dayla had been up there, that would have been like, whoa, that is one heck of a lineup.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see Dayla.
Yeah, me too. Courtney has been my least favorite since the beginning, and like I can't imagine even watching any other seasons disliking any contestant more than I dislike her.
There are a lot of seasons.
I know, but I really, really don't like her. I mean, I'm sure there's probably contestants that I could dislike even more, but right
L
now,
L, would you
she's
say that there's any in all the seasons up until 2021 and across all of the different franchises worldwide, is there anybody that you think is more unlikable than Courtney?
Oh, I could name 12 right now.
What about more unlikable than uh no, I'm mostly kind of joking around. I actually understand the appeal for Courtney. I understand that refined thing, and I was a huge proponent early on. I was a big Courtney fan early on. I just I guess I am just a real sucker for the mess and the realness that Adore at least portrays. I mean, we had this conversation before that, like, Adore is a professional. So, um, I I feel pretty confident that Adore knows what she's doing by playing that part. It's the reason why also I'm not completely convinced that if she wins, that she becomes that like party and in like interviews afterwards. I think she's smart enough and savvy enough and a strong enough performer that she actually would understand how to sort of shift. But that like here she needs to be that in order to sort of offset the other energy that she's getting from her other contestants, that she needs to sort of counterbalance what what Bianca and Courtney are. I just think that that's just a really intuitive person, and you know if that's the case, that's obviously that's like somebody who is being as what's the word, like, as much of a performer as I'm criticizing uh, Bianca for being, but I like the performance better. I like that kind of messy, vulnerable performance better.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. I don't.
I get you. I understand. I completely understand what you're not liking about her, and that's just I think that's just the type of people that you and I might have more or less tolerance for.
I would like to see her in this competition in like 7 years. You know what I mean? Like just a little bit more seasoned and a little more mature, but the same kind of fun personality. I think that would have been really.
But what if that personality that she's giving off, that youthful personality, what if that is largely an act?
Well, and it's
So
masterful. And,
then
yeah.
in 7 years she'll just perform a new act, the act of the person who has now matured 7 years.
True.
I don't know. I think Adore is giving an earnesty that is palpable. Like, I think that yes, she's very professional, I think. Yes, a little bit of it is an act, based on her age and her inexperience. But I also think there's an earnestness there that I can't even put my finger on, in a way that like maybe Bianca, or like what John you've been seeing from Bianca is like maybe an actual act, like it's more honed. Um I really just don't feel like we're getting an act from Adore. I think that's kind of how she is, but she's using it to her advantage in her characters. And like, the character of Adore, like Adore is someone you have to adore, like there's something like that, there's something kind of innocent and earnest about the character too, and I think that she's playing into it, but I do think like it's coming from a real place. I feel like every time we hear her talk behind, in the interviews, like even tonight with Rue, like there's definitely something really genuine there. And but the reason I think she shouldn't win is because she's lacking some actual skills, like sewing. And I think, to Hunter's point, I wouldn't want her to represent the brand if she can't sew. Even though she won a challenge, which was a really amazing thing, I just kind of feel like the person who wins should really be completely well-rounded, completely like ready to go at any moment, and not just like um relying on the earnestness, or relying on the funniness, or all of that, and like it's sort of a crapshoot when it comes time to showtime. Like that's kind of what we're getting from Adore, and that's, I think, why we love her, is because we're just always not sure if she's going to pull it out, and sometimes she really does, and it's so exciting. But I think that's why she shouldn't win, and I think that's why, like, in a few years she'd be, just an amazing um alum of the show, and like really be a superstar, but like not right now. And I don't
Yeah.
know, but I'm getting real earnest vibes from her.
I get what you're saying, Diana. I think earnest is a really good word to use to describe her. But I think that from what we've seen, all of all of the queens kind of, like, there's something that they struggle in. I feel like, so I don't necessarily know if sewing should be enough to keep Adore from winning, because like Courtney, she relies on her pretty. She doesn't really give much else in the way of personality or performance, for instance. Bianca is like, she's not super versatile in her look. She wears the same style dresses. She does her makeup the same every single time. Her hair is almost always the same. So I think that they all kind of struggle a little bit in certain areas. Um, but like, you can learn how to sew, but you can't learn how to have a personality. So like Courtney is just, I just don't think that um she even deserves to be in the top 3, to be honest. Bianca can learn to switch up her look, but I don't know if she will. But I mean, I get what you're saying, but I do think that all of them have different struggles in their own way. I know that sewing's a pretty big part of the show, but she's excelled at like almost every other challenge. She's very funny. She's good at acting. She's, got tons of personality. So, like, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure if that's enough to keep her from winning necessarily.
I see what you're saying. I think when it comes to this term, like drag superstar, kind of like America's not Next Top Model, like there's a certain professionalism that is associated with that. And I kind of feel like if I go to a drag show of superstars, I expect every single queen to be like very professionally done, and whether or not that's the character they play every single day, like someone like Bianca, um or not, I kind of want them to be perfect, you know what I mean? Like, I and so what
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, like, Adore, you're not you're sometimes gonna get like a little bit of a weird hemline, and like I kind of feel like that is where um she's her failure as a sewer is actually pretty big, and I think it's a bigger demerit than doing the same thing all the time, because like some performers, like they do the same thing all the time and they perfect that one thing, and it kind of doesn't matter that they're not really versatile, because they become known as that one thing, and so that's what they do. I mean, Courtney, honestly, like I am not a fan, I've never been a fan, but she always looks really, even if we hate what she's wearing, it's perfectly done. And so I think that's like the level of competition that she's bringing versus Adore, because Adore is still learning how to actually do the basics of the garments, whereas everyone else is sort of working with a little bit more. And I think after she gets that down, she can diversify her personality. But I think like there are definitely you know, there's a construction to an act, and like part of it is I mean, a huge part of it is the clothing, and it has to be perfect to be a superstar. So I mean, I always think of it as like, okay, if I'm gonna spend like $50 in a night to like go see a professional drag show, like I want to make sure that everyone's sewing is up to Bianca's level. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I think of it.
Yeah,
But
I
I
see
would
what
I would argue though that that's also money, because a lot of the outfits that the queens brought, they didn't make themselves. They paid for them, and
Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
case for Courtney. She was coming into this competition, as she said herself. Like Australia's #1 drag queen. She was coming in already established with a fan base with a lot of money. And that's a huge difference. And that is something that's seen a lot in this show, is that you have one queen who is just, struggling to make it, trying to survive, and they are scrambling to put together pieces, which is kind of what happened with Adore, where a lot of her drag that she has on the show was stuff that was gifted from other drag queens. It wasn't actually stuff she owned herself or was able to necessarily like fix or customize. Whereas you have other queens coming on with lots of money, lots of things that were made for them, specifically tailored to them exactly. And so, like, if Adore wins, she wins $100,000. With that, she could have a lot of outfits made for that money and look spectacular going to all of her performances, which I think would then kind of get rid of that element of, oh, well, she's not going to look like a superstar, but she would look like a superstar because she'd have the funds and the name and the backing behind it.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah, I get that too, but like I feel like okay, like I don't want us to spend all this time on the sewing aspect, but like Diana has a point because like if they are going to be, going around doing all this stuff, like I said, I would want someone who's prepared. Courtney and Bianca, they're a little more seasoned. They would know how to handle that if they get thrown like, oh, like, hey, we have to be here in 10 hours, change your outfit. They would know how to handle that. And sure, you know, Adore would have the money to buy things, but what if she gains weight or loses weight and she has to tailor an outfit to, she still needs to know how to alter that. And I feel like that's such an integral part of the drag culture is to, you have to know how to sew and adapt.
I'm willing to accept accept that argument that that the well that Bianca is more well-rounded, and I don't really totally buy this idea that like Adore is going to be a mess. In interviews, I sort of feel like we have plenty of really charming young celebrities that that their personality is is not refined, and yet they do a great job of selling the brand. But the idea that she can't that she doesn't have a really necessary skill within the drag community. That makes more sense to me. It's just, I guess it's just hard because, uh, you want, I mean, at least for me, I want the winner to be somebody who I like have deeply come to care about, and the way that they arced out the Adore's journey. Yeah, the crapshoot aspect of it was part of that story. Um, that that makes her feel like the underdog throughout the competition, and it's just more satisfying when the underdog wins. I mean, that just, at least it is for me. We're all talking as though she doesn't win. We know she doesn't win, but we're talking like she doesn't win. But I feel pretty confident she doesn't win.
Yeah, I
But
feel like
Although
it's
if she does
between
win,
Courtney
everybody who
and
knows is laughing right now.
You notice how everybody who knows is staying mysteriously quiet through this entire conversation.
not so
Yes.
mysteriously.
Yes.
But I think, like, at this point, not that it doesn't matter who wins, I think we've all, like, regardless, like, thoroughly enjoyed Adore's journey here, and, like, only want great things for her, and, like, you know, really feel like there is a story arc here. And, like, I feel like not winning is part of that journey, like, I think not winning is moving on and being like, wow, I learned so much on this, and let's, like, see what she does next. That's kind of
Well,
how I feel about
yeah.
it.
if you think about it, not winning could actually be to her benefit because I don't know if you've ever noticed, but all past American Idol runner-ups have become more famous than the winners of that season.
I was just talking
It's
about this with my mom because we were talking about Clay Aiken versus Ruben Studdard, and she was like, I do not remember who that person was. And I was like, that's right, because he actually won.
Yeah,
So,
just like with Carrie Underwood, she came in second. I don't even remember who won that season. Um, so yeah, like it's very common for the runner-up of shows to actually become more famous than the person who won them.
So do we think Adore would be runner up then?
Possibly. I wouldn't be mad if she were.
Me neither.
Carrie Underwood won though.
Did she win? She is
Carrie
the only.
Underwood. Carrie Underwood was Carrie Underwood on the same season as there was an there was I want to say that there was another guy on her season who won. Maybe it
No,
wasn't her
she
season,
she was on season 4 and she won.
and she won.
Oh, okay.
Okay, there
Well,
was a
she's the exception to the rule. For the most part, the
It's all toxic.
runner-ups are always more famous than the actual people that win.
yeah.
It's
Like I remember there was a guy that won that won one of those early seasons of American Idol, and just a dud, didn't end up becoming a superstar, but the runner up did become like a superstar. And I wanted to say that was Carrie Underwood, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, not maybe I'm wrong. I clearly am wrong. But I'm trying to now remember who that would have been,
Was
the
it? Are you
runner up.
thinking of a guy? You said was it Clay Aiken? I
Clay
remember
Aiken.
that.
No. Clay Aiken didn't win. Or maybe he did. I don't
no,
know.
No,
he
That
she
was
didn't.
so
said
long
Ruben
ago.
Studdard won.
Yeah.
Ruben Studdard. No, who was there was like a like a kind of folky guy, like older looking, right?
Taylor Hicks.
Yes,
Oh
Taylor
yeah.
Hicks.
Yeah,
Taylor
I remember him
Yeah.
because he's from Alabama.
Right. Taylor Hicks was like the big thing that season, and then won, didn't and then didn't really have that huge mega superstar
Yeah.
career. But the runner up, I believe, did, or somebody else that season did have like kind of a big breakout, or had some success.
Was
What's very
Daughtry from that
funny,
season?
I think that was the Jennifer Hudson season, maybe. And
oh,
God, what's
maybe,
her name? She married the music producer. She was on Smash.
Catherine
Oh,
McPhee.
Catherine.
Catherine McPhee,
Yes,
yeah.
Catherine
yes.
McPhee.
I'm pretty
And
sure she came in second to him, if I'm remembering correctly. I was big into American Idol. I can't stand this Ruben stuttered slander. I'm gonna say like right here. I was
I'm not
obsessed.
slandering him either. He's also from Alabama, so of course, like, I would never
Everybody was obsessed with
slander him.
Clay, and I was like this huge Ruben fan, and I had like the 205. I was like literally writing on my hand
Wow.
Sharpie every day. I was obsessed. I was on all the chat boards with my like I this is dating me, but I was really into, I was obsessed with Friends at the time because it was just like a couple years before Friends ended. So all of my usernames on every forum was somehow related to Matthew Perry, and I was just going off and telling everybody how much like Ruben's gonna win, and oh god, it was what a time. But anyway, no.
Catherine McPhee's husband is actually Ruben Studdard's music producer.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But yeah, it is pretty common for the runner-ups to be more famous
And
than
there's
One
also
Direction finished.
restrictions because when you win, there's certain rules you have to
yeah.
follow. There's certain things that you have to do, and like the show is like, okay, you have to like do these appearances we tell you, and you have to record what we want you to record. You don't have as much freedom. So that's why I think you do see a lot of success coming from those that, didn't win or
That
didn't even necessarily place that high
that's
because then
very
not as restricted.
possible. Yeah, I've heard a contestant once on American Idol say that they didn't want to win, they just wanted to do well enough to get notoriety because they didn't want to have to do the American Idol, like basically signing away several years of their life to do what American Idol wanted them to do rather than manage their own careers. So there are some people that actually went on the show and their hope wasn't to win, it was just to get notoriety. Notoriety.
So is this like a regular pageant where if the person who wins can't fulfill their duties and the runner up takes, because I would love to see what happens.
So with the miscongeniality, um, does that include all the past contestants as well, or just the ones that are left?
It
What do you
includes
mean,
the
Mandy?
whole season.
Well, when the audience votes for miscongeniality, is that just for the ones that are left or for all of the contestants?
No, like everyone except the final three can win it.
Okay, so like all of the ones that went home
Yeah,
prior
I believe
are
even
eligible.
Darian would be in the running, even though he's finished fourth, but I'm not
Okay.
sure.
I
Yeah.
want Trinity to win Miss Congeniality.
Nah, I'd rather just take the crown.
Yeah, if I had to choose somebody to win it, I feel like Dayla is gonna win it. I mean, I can't be certain, but that's what I feel. I feel like Dayla's gonna win it.
And if Adore
Yeah,
does not win, then I want her to come back in a couple of years and win one of the All Star seasons.
yeah,
Yes.
yes, definitely. If Adore doesn't win, I really hope Adore comes back for some sort of an all-star thing. Um, this is another one that I kind of feel like maybe I might be spoiled on, but maybe not. Um, I believe Dela is going to come back for an all-star, and the reason for that is what I said earlier is whenever I turn on my Hulu, now I have a bunch of sort of, I guess you'd call them like adjacent series to Drag Race, and one of them has Bianca on the little thumbnail, and the little like thumbnail graphic, and the other one has Dayla on the thumbnail graphic. And I'm thinking, I don't know if this season is big enough for Dayla to like become somebody that the sort of Drag Race, franchise or production company or whatever would have her helm her own show.
Yeah, because she definitely wasn't shown enough on the show, but from what we did see of her, she seemed very sweet.
And we're getting dead silence from those who know this show. So I feel pretty confident that I'm right about that.
I love that we can just like ask random questions and just wait for silence to see if
Yeah,
it comes
exactly. It's like
Yes,
so does this
wait
happen?
for their
Silence.
reaction.
Yeah, silence. Okay, I guess it does happen. No. Or we're wrong and Elle's laughing at us right now.
Yeah.
I think either way, Elle is probably laughing at us right now.
That's
I
okay.
want to say so much. I'm having the hardest. I'm just like, nope, mute. I'll just talk to myself. I just can't. Oh my God, I want to say so many things.
You notice Regina's been on the couch this whole time and she knows the show but has not said a word. So she's either fallen asleep or she doesn't want to spoil us on
She actually
anything.
spoke a little while ago. She chimed in. Regina usually speaks when she has something very important to say, and I think my guess is that Regina hasn't felt like we've been really digging deep enough in this episode
Or she's
to
just
to
being
warrant
safe.
her input.
I was gonna make a joke and say that I was still watching the episode because of all the ads, but
Oh.
I didn't know. I don't know if it would have landed.
That's funny. That's really funny.
There was a lot of ads because I was quite a bit behind too. You guys were like talking, and I'm like still watching, and you're like, "Oh, that breaks my heart," and I'm like, "Oh man, I know who it is."
I mean, Hulu Plus.
I know. I have a year, but I have a year of like just Hulu, so I like. I think I've gotten to
How are you feeling
April.
about the top three, Shauna? Do you like, who's your favorite and who's your prediction?
I really like Dorian, but she's gone now. So Darian, um, I think Courtney is just terrible. Um,
Yes.
and I don't like Del Del Rey.
Del
Is that who
Rio.
that is? Del Rio. I don't like that one. So these last three, I I'm not cheering for any of them because I'm just like, man, from day one. I've been rooting for Darian.
I just want
Yeah,
to
there's something
say,
about a reality show that when you really get behind when you get behind a particular person on a reality show and they leave, especially close to the end, there is something where just the rest of the series really loses a lot for you. That's happened to me in a few series where I'm like, I'm done now.
Yeah.
They got rid of my favorite. I'm done.
Shauna, your take is like the opposite of mine. Like I couldn't stand Darian, and like I wish he went weeks ago. But I equally like the top three. I think Adore's the most likable. Bianca's just like unparalleled talented, and like I just like Courtney's attitude. Like I like how she's like perfect and how much she's worked to be polished and stuff. So like I honestly really like the top three.
Well, everyone, this was really, really nice. It was nice to hang with all of you again. Looking forward to our next episode on Wednesday. We're gonna do our I guess it's a recap show or is a reunion show. I mean, it's not a recap show in that like it's just recap. It's just like clips from the previous ones, or is there anything new about it?
Yeah, so there it's one part like clip show where you see a lot of the stuff that we've already seen, but then they show footage that you haven't seen before. They show some stuff from Untucked, and there's interviews and little fun segments with some of the queens from past seasons, and just like a real breakdown on like every queen you've seen, and it's going to be really helpful for going into the finale.
Good. Good. All right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Everyone, we have Maisel tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Please join us if you're watching that. We have Firefly on Monday, Maisel again on Tuesday. Everything is sort of back to normal in terms of our slate. All right. I'll see you all tomorrow.
Night, John.
Bye.
Night,
Yep.
John.
Bye.
Night.
Bye.